People like to collect things like stamps, coins, or baseball cards. John Ravert of Watsontown has a most interesting collection: player pianos. More specifically, automatic musical instruments. That is, instruments that play by themselves. His home is filled with Nickelodeons, orchestrians, and pianos, and he was kind enough to give In Your Neighborhood a tour. An accomplished pianist and organist, Ravert was enthralled with player pianos at a very early age.
When my grandparents would take me to the shore, we would go to Wildwood, New Jersey, and we'd go to the airport, and we would look at the steam train there. They had a big steam train. I was into railroad, American Flyer trains and things like that. So we would go there, and they had Nickelodeons and antique cars, and I really enjoyed the music of the Nickelodeon and the mechanics of it, with the wheels spinning and watching and listening to the music and connecting the music all with the mechanics. It was wonderful.
Connecting the music and the mechanics was fascinating for young John, and he was encouraged by his father, who owned an appliance business in Watsontown and was quite mechanically inclined himself.
He traded a player piano in on a television that he sold a customer, and then we rebuilt it together, made it play, and then from there on it just sort of took off.
After taking a course in piano tuning and repair, John began rebuilding player pianos, even though there wasn't much written about them at the time.
You just got better by doing it over and over, trial and error, and then people began to write books and literature on it so you could get a better idea of what to do. So that was my start into that.
Over the years, he has repaired and rebuilt countless players, and his collection has grown at the same time. Player pianos date back to the late 1800s. Their predecessor was the barrel organ. John McTammany is credited with developing the player system that used rolls of paper with holes that operated a reed organ. He did this in 1876. Later, in 1895, Edwin Volti built upon McTammany's work and created the player piano. All players are pneumatic, that is, they run on air. Tiny bellows are filled with air throughout the instrument. Holes on the paper roll tell the player which vacuum to use. The vacuum pulls the air out of the bellows. Here, I'll let John explain it to you.
The air gets sucked out of those, they collapse and play.
Oh, so it's, okay, so the air sucks out. That's what you're saying by, it's a vacuum. It
yes,
the
air out, and the air pressure, if scientifically, pushes the bellows shut.
Right.
So you've got outside pressure pushing down.
Got it. See, I was thinking, with an organ, it's the reverse, isn't it? It's the air flowing out through the pipe that makes the sound.
Yes, yes, if you...
Look, we're doing physics now.
And then you blow, you get pressure to create the sound, that's right. And the reverse happens to make it play.
A bit of engineering magic from the turn of the 20th century. These instruments became all the rage until the stock market crashed in 1929 and nearly wiped out the industry. In their heyday, players were found in private homes and public buildings. Nickelodeons were the jukeboxes of their day. John Ravert's collection spans a variety of instruments that are each unique in their own way.
I have a model of each reproducer here that were the three main ones made in the United States. I have Nickelodeons of many different kinds of roll systems because they're all unique, and so I like to have this one because it plays these pipe sounds, or I like to have another kind because it plays just xylophone, and so I like that sound. So I got into collecting these over the years.
John has rebuilt or repaired most of the instruments in his collection. He estimates about 500 hours of work go into restoring just one of these. Now, when I say player piano, you probably think of something like this: an upright piano with a roll mechanism hidden inside. These will play music, but that's about it.
It just gives you like two dimensions. You get the sound and you get rhythm, but you don't get expression.
Reproducing pianos were developed to give expression to the music. The three primary systems manufactured in the U.S. were the Steinway Duo Art, the Welty, and the Ampico. John gave us a good look at the Duo Art system and explained how reproducing pianos work.
The controls to operate it are down here. You can regulate the tempo, forward and backwards. All of the expression is cut into the sides of the rolls. If you look on this sides of the tracker bar, you have great big holes here which are used to operate the expression system. And when the roll comes down over, you'll notice on the sides you've got expression control holes which tell almost every hole here what vacuum to use. So it'll play louds, it plays softs, it shapes the melody, it makes the accompaniment softer than the melody, operates the pedals, so that you get a reproduction of the artist. That's why these are called reproducing pianos. This is called a duo art because you have two arts. You've got the piano itself, which you can play by hand. Or you can put the roll on and make music that way.
As John mentioned earlier, the player system and paper rolls for each of the three manufacturers are different. His vast collection of rolls consists of recuts, since the original rolls are quite brittle, and that can affect the quality of the performance.
What do they make the rolls out of?
This is a paper impregnated with a wax to keep the moisture out so it doesn't swell and
Because that, I
shrink.
assume, since it is a vacuum, if the size of the hole is different, it's a different sound or a
Yes,
different
and a different
behavior.
rhythm. Yes, it's a different behavior. That's absolutely right.
In the 1920s, these paper rolls were what CDs and MP3s are today.
When you went to concerts back in the 20s, you would buy a roll instead of CD and bring it home, put on your piano so you could take that artist home with you. We have recordings of Edward Grieg and Claude Debussy and a lot of the composers of the turn of the century have recorded for these companies.
Wow.
So a lot of the recordings that you hear and that sound phenomenal are because the cream of the crop of the world made recordings.
John pulled out a piece that has a neat whistling effect. Have a listen. In addition to the reproducing pianos, the upstairs studio is home to several Nickelodeons and orchestrians. This one is an experimental model that John constructed himself. It is designed to play rolls from two different manufacturers. I asked John about its interesting name, orchestrian.
To represent the orchestra, and this will be like a 10-piece orchestra. You have piano, you've got mandolin, you've got violin pipes, you've got flute pipes, you have a bass drum, you have a xylophone, you have snare drum, you've got triangle, tambourine, and castanet. And of course the rhythm cymbal works with the bass beater on the bass drum. And then it's got a timpani roll also on the bass drum.
Cool.
So, how about we pop a quarter in and
Let's do that. At some point, I did see it moving.
Another Nickelodeon John made to look and sound like a Cremona K. While not an original, John worked with a collector in Philadelphia who owned a Cremona K, made drawings of it, and produced this wonderful instrument.
I had the stained glass done in Watsontown with Rick Wolf at Watsontown Glass, and he made copies, drawings of the original glass, and then when we built this, he made the glass for us also.
The Cremona K doesn't have nearly the rhythm section of the orchestrion. See if you can hear the difference. now you've probably noticed that a quarter is required to start the instrument. In fact, mugs of them sit all over the studio. This fact made me wonder where those quarters go, and can John in fact get them back once he's put them in the Nickelodeons?
The original ones had really almost like a strongbox in them with a key. We just put a little basket in here now, and then you can just pull the basket out. Although
I love how you went ahead, even though you reproduced this and made it so it was still operated by a coin going in.
One of the instruments in John's collection that he has not restored is the Mills Violano. If you thought the other players were cool, wait till you see this.
It was designed in around 1905 by Henry K. Sandell, and he sold the rights to it to the Mills Novelty Company, and he worked for them until the stock market crashed, and they produced about 4,500 of these, and there's about 1,000 left, and this is one of those.
This is a rare player that runs on direct electric current rather than air pressure. Oh yes, and it has an actual violin in it.
The bowing action is done by wheels. They're celluloid wheels that they're like little leaves stuffed on there, and you can see they're individual.
Oh my goodness.
And they're impregnated with rosin, and this is a rosin, that rosin sits in this little box, and when it rewinds it drops down and automatically puts rosin onto the bow wheel.
You may have noticed by now that I've been referring to this room as the upstairs studio. That's because there are more pianos downstairs. One entire wall is filled with upright players. On the other wall are two absolutely gorgeous reproducing pianos. This one is a Chickering in an art case. It has been done in the Louis XVI style with wood carvings, and facing it is a Steinway with a hand-painted Louis XVI case. The detail is just incredible. With all these players and a ready supply of nickels, I couldn't resist playing one. The one I selected is a marvel of engineering. It has a roll changer that holds multiple rolls and will go from one to the next, provided you put in enough change. Think of it as the precursor to the 6-disc CD changer. Just when I thought our tour was coming to an end, John took us out to his shop. Here lay bits and pieces of his latest restoration, and around the corner was a huge organ. In addition to the restoration business, teaching piano lessons, serving as a church organist, John also runs Ravert's band organ rentals. 2 of his Wurlitzer organs can be loaded onto a trailer and brought to parades, events, even backyard parties. When Chris Kehoe fired up this one, you can see why it's meant to be played out of doors. I think it's fair to say that my idea of player pianos was significantly broadened after spending a couple of hours in John Ravert's home. The marriage of mechanics and music to produce fun, flawless, exciting sounds is a marvel of human ingenuity. I hope you enjoyed this tour as much as I did. Big thank you to John Ravert for opening his home and sharing his collection with all of us. Well, that wraps up this episode of In Your Neighborhood. Be sure to check out our Facebook fan page for stories from seasons 1 and 2. I'm Jennifer Wakeman. Thanks for watching.
in Wednesday nights at 7 and Saturday and Sunday afternoons at 1 for In Your Neighborhood, exclusively on CATV Channel 8.